Okay, looks good. This is episode 4 of the cancer ward series I was doing, a report on how things are going basically, and a brief discussion on GcMAF and immunotherapy. So it's April 20th, 4/20 for those of us who care. Anyway, so I'm doing really well. The approach I'm taking now for the cancer is incrementally building the results from the CAE test, or is it CEA? One of the two. Yeah, CEA, I think, are somewhat ambiguous still at the moment at 7.9. I swapped over to a new lab, so that accounted for a little tiny bit of deviance between the two sets of measurements because you need to stay with one lab to get a consistent approach. They say the test is less reliable than, well, than most. So it's not like I'm putting a great deal of emphasis on it. It's the only metric I have other than Nagalase, which is a tumor-promoting factor, you'd have to say, a chemical within everybody, but also it's been added to all kinds of stuff. But it's a good marker for tumor growth, that kind of thing. So anyway, as I was saying, my approach to dealing with cancer has been incremental, and it started off using medicinal mushrooms as well as nicotinamide riboside for energy. I've sort of stopped the NR and gone strictly to cordyceps mushrooms for energy building. This is because cordyceps also has an anti-cancer component. NR has none that we're able to see, although it's used in cancer trials, especially for people with like kidney cancer to give them energy because it's less draining. It's not a central nervous system pump the way coffee is. That's true of also cordyceps, but cordyceps appears to have it has a lot of anti-cancer properties, very much like reishi mushroom, chaga mushroom, lion's mane, and a couple of others, turkey tail, and a few others. But cordyceps also, by the way, for those who care, seems to be more keyed in its anti-cancer components to cancer of the kidneys, bladder, those kind of fluid things, right? From a Chinese medicine viewpoint, cordyceps is drying. Okay, it aids you that way. Cordyceps is useful for people like myself that have had sections of the bowel removed, because the bowel is the area that sucks water back out of the fecal matter before you expel it, and you get your water back. And cordyceps is also a drying agent that way. You can also use this other Sintosh and a few of these other Chinese medicine herbal preparations, usually extracted from the flower parts of plants or the roots. You'll notice that's pretty much true in a lot of the Chinese medicine. It's less about the leaves, usually, and it's either about flowering elements, even down into pistils and stamens and separating them, or the roots or some component of the stems, especially with vining things. Anyway, though, so we've got my mushrooms. I'm sticking up with those. They're really good for me in a lot of different ways. Medicinal mushrooms are good. I have like a reishi mushroom tea before, after eating the last meal of the day, sort of a calming Zen kind of thing. I have cordyceps in the morning for energy. I'll have lion's mane throughout the day in my coffee, as I do now, a little half dose of lion's mane for the brain. I have turkey tail for the combinoric, the combination effect that turkey tail provides. It boosts all kinds of other stuff. And so I have my regimen of my mushrooms. I have the optimal vitamins. Okay, so the optimal vitamins actually was the very first thing I did. I started slamming down the vitamin C, vitamin B, vitamin D, up to its levels, vitamin A, Vitamin E, I don't want to forget that because I'm up to triple the RDA on a daily basis. Or geez, I mean, I'm way over. I'm about 1,600 units a day on vitamin E. Very good for the veins, the arteries, and that kind of thing. I'm also taking C60. Now I'm taking occasionally. So every day I take C60 Purple Power, the avocado version, because I don't handle the coconut well or the olive oil well. So the avocado works for myself, and it does well for the dogs. They don't have any stomach issues with it at all. I take a tablespoon of that a day. Now on top of that, I've got C60 in black seed oil from Live Longer Labs. That's very unique stuff, okay, black seed oil, all right? It has its own anti-cancer components, some serious ones. And the formulation that the guys at Live Longer Labs have are little capsules, so it makes it easy to convenient to take. Black seed oil, as I say, is its own anti-cancer agent. And I find that if I take the black seed oil with the caplet with the C60 and the niacin, vitamin B at the same time, if I'm taking a flushing form of the vitamin B, then I get an extra bit of oomph out of the whole thing, okay? So I'm getting some level of anti-cancer component out of the black seed oil that's being flushed out to the edges of the body, so to speak, by the element of the niacin pushing everything out, vasodilator, the whole deal. So I take the black seed oil, not necessarily daily, but consistently, 4 or 5 times a week. On top of that, I occasionally take quercetin, which is anti-metastasizing bioflavonoid out of plants. It causes cancer to not be able to build out, to metastasize. You've also got that with vitamin C, where it builds up the intercellular cement, and it prevents the cancer from putting in hormones to attach and then be able to grow. Now, this is a whole regimen that I'm doing, see? So I've got the optimal vitamin therapy, I've got the medicinal mushrooms on top of that. On top of that, I've eliminated sugar from the diet, starving the cancer out, getting into ketosis, getting rid of all of the surface, epidermal or subdermal fat, it's been pretty good. I mean, I was already reasonably lean anyway, but it's having an effect. And then another big element of this is that I'm taking some specific traditional Chinese medicine compounds to restore testosterone levels. Now you have to understand that males lose testosterone at the rate of 1% per year is how the allopaths think of it, the doctors, from about age 40 on. Okay, some say it's around 32, but from about 40 on, age 40 on, it's pretty sure you're going to start losing testosterone at some level. I had noticed that, now, and on top of that, cancer has this weird effect, okay? Male or female, cancer turns estrogen and testosterone productions off because it induces cortisol production. And what happens is cholesterol comes into the hormonal nerve center of your body, so to speak, and then it's decided by the collective that is your body, cell-wise, to produce cortisol, stress hormone, or to produce testosterone and estrogen, the growth hormones, the maintenance hormones, and so on. With the cancer, you end up living too long in cortisol. Cortisol starts dominating. Your testosterone, if you're male, or estrogen, if you're a female, goes way down as a result of the cortisol. That happened to me. I had been in the upper 900s in my 40s. I was checked at age 40, and I had this weird test done at the time where they do this average over the course of a whole week. So they take the blood over the course of the whole week, and then they give you the average and the flow of how your testosterone was. And I was in the upper 900s at that point. I was feeling fine. I was out, working, doing shit. And then in 2016, I had it done again, and it turns out that the cancer was really producing the cortisol, and I was down to 613. So that would have been 23 years. I should have lost 23%, and I'd ended up losing well over 50%, or not 50, or close to 50% of my testosterone levels, especially in the free testosterone, where it really matters. And so, which is not your 613 level, and you need to know those, milligrams per deciliter ratios and what they mean. But in any event, my free testosterone was down as well. And so I decided, as part of the anti-cancer thing, I wanted to recover that so that I would have the ability to build the muscle mass back, because I'd had wasting in the muscles from the cancer and all different kinds of side effects. So I started looking into it. I'm very well versed in the traditional Chinese medicine, and started looking at some of the herbal concoctions and methods that they had, chose a couple, and they're working. So in my 40s, I was in the upper 900s, let's call it 1,000. 2016, I'm down to 613 at testosterone level, and so 613. And then just right after the cancer had been removed, in the surgery and all of that, so really, really at my lowest, I was at 408. And that was pretty low. That's, for myself, it was well less than half of what I had in my 40s. And, I was not feeling that particularly motivated or good. And so I started taking these, the traditional Chinese medicine approach. Now, basically, I did it because I didn't want to get into the position of being dependent upon external testosterone injections or creams or whatever. And so it turns out that my approach worked, in spite of the fact that my body had been devastated by the cancer and devastated by the surgery and so on. I was able to start picking it back up. So the 408 number was in December of this past year. And so in the following couple of months, between blood tests, I was able to raise the testosterone level up a remarkable 141 points to 549. That's a big boost. You don't even see that kind of a boost that rapidly with injected testosterone usually. You can get it way up, but you're only injecting every a couple of times a week sort of a deal, right? Every 4 days or whatever. And it takes a while to build up in your system. So I was actually quite pleased to have the effect of this at this herbal level. And then so 1 month after that test, I had another test, blood test, and the testosterone level went from 549 to 598. It's like, okay, now we're getting back to like 2016 levels. It was late 2016 even. So I'm now starting to recover. Now, I don't see any reason that the testosterone level production by the approach I'm taking should level off. I should be able to reach what I think of as an optimal testosterone level, but I won't reach it as rapidly as if I'd had injected testosterone. Injected testosterone takes you a couple of months to build up, but then you scale up very rapidly because you've got this heavy-duty base of the testosterone being put into you. The approach I'm taking is much more subtle. Usually, for instance, with TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, you cycle on and off. Okay, same thing is true with hormones. You don't use them continuously. That's why you do it every 4 days, and there are little lags and so on. It's because you need to have your body adapt to all of this. So with traditional Chinese medicine, you might take a particular concoction, 5 days out of 7. 3 days out of 7, something like this. Some of them are very powerful, and you only take them 2 days out of 7. It's rare to take the approach I'm using because everybody wants bigger bang for their buck quicker, but I've decided to take the long and slow route. And so I'm still doing the C60, still doing the medicinal mushrooms, the optimized vitamin therapy, and I add into it these traditional Chinese herbal concoctions. And I've raised the testosterone up from 408 now to 598. And it should continue scaling upward, although I suspect as I approach optimal levels that the amount I'll be able to add each over the period of time, short period of time, will be very low. By the way, this is iodine, it's not jaundice. So, it's where I absorb my iodine. I put a couple of drops and take it in through the skin. Also, by the way, you can determine how deficient you are by putting in a known size of an iodine layer on your skin and seeing how many hours it takes to absorb. If you're at optimal levels, it should take about 12 hours. So if you put on 2 drops and you put it over a 3 square inch area on your skin, 12 hours later, you should still be able to see it ever so slightly. And that'll tell you, hey, I'm pretty good. You don't need to do iodine every day then. You can do it every so often. So there's all these little tricks. Anyway, so what I'm doing with the Chinese herbal medicine stuff is I'm going after a multi-month, probably multi-year approach to building back up to optimal levels. I'm feeling pretty good at 549. I can exercise. I was actually going to do this out in the greenhouse and show you the production I've been able to achieve out there with these higher testosterone levels, but the lighting was bad. It's too early in the morning and the lighting was just too goofy to even get anything in there. Okay, so here we are, quick review. The optimal vitamins, the medicinal mushrooms, no sugar, and the testosterone raising stuff. And so I'm feeling pretty good about all of that, but I want to make sure I've got this cancer stuff nailed down. So I am continuing to do my research, and my brain's getting better. By the way, the amnesia is fading. That would kick my ass. I mean, it just cut holes in my memory, especially about where I'd put stuff in our new house, because we'd barely moved into this place before I went through 6 months of dying before the emergency surgery, and everything in that past 6 months was all traumatized by the pain and the agony and everything I was going through. And then on top of that, a lot of that memory was wiped out by the surgeries. So I don't know where anything is in the house. Anytime I got to find something, I got to wander all the hell and go and look it all up. I'm hoping to get everything all organized here pretty quick. Still waiting to get a new hot water tank I've got to put into the house and get the flooring replaced out here, because this turned out to be no good for me. This luxury vinyl was soft, and I'm an old guy and I do things by myself, and so I'm always shoving stuff around and moving it. I need to slide stuff on a floor, and you can't do it with this soft luxury vinyl. So I got to get hard stuff put in there, but getting close. Another month I'll have the office actually able to put stuff in here permanently and get things all organized. So continuing on. Drop the sugar, get the testosterone up, it's going on up. So the next thing I'm introducing is this stuff called immunotherapy. Boy, that's harder than you would figure. Immunotherapy. Now you got to hear people like people that are out to prove that they're buttheads and that they're real ignorant and so on are going to say immunotherapy is yet another scam out of the big pharma. What they fail to understand is that immunotherapy is something that's being forced on big pharma because so many people are taking that approach and forcing them to adapt to the market. And so they're now trying to formalize and capture and control the immunotherapy market. But it arose from alternative medicine. It arose from everybody going on out and figuring there's got to be something better than these fucktard doctors are offering. And so here's immunotherapy. It's another form of orthomolecular medicine. Orthomolecular medicine has at its core the idea that you cure yourself with chemicals that are already in your body, and you don't put anything into your body expecting it to cure you. You put it into your body expecting it to trigger a response within those mechanisms already in your body such that that mechanism cures you. Okay, big difference. Okay, so it's kind of like the difference. Immunotherapy is harmonious to the body. Chemotherapy is not. Chemotherapy is damn near kill the body in order to try and kill the cancer and hope that the person doesn't die and the cancer does. Not a good theory in my way of thinking. Immunotherapy is find those mechanisms within the body that produce you an immunity and an immune system response where it kills the cancer, and you get rid of the cancer by the body's natural defense. And all what you do is provide those things that promote that immunotherapy. That brings us to the GC. Oops. Oh, no. Where does it go? That brings us over here to the GcMAF. Okay. That is a basically means sugar. It's a glucose protein, glucogen-based protein. Most of your body, most of reality outside of minerals is in fact sugar. Most proteins, a lot of the different stuff are all different forms of sugar that we just don't recognize as sugar. But in any event, so the MAF is a macrophage activating factor. GcMAF is it comes from the same chemical that is used to bind vitamin D, D as in delta, into your cells. Okay, so GcMAF is the macrophage activating factor that is emergent from this vitamin D binding protein. All right, it sounds complicated. It's not really. And so the vitamin D binding protein has these two sugars nipped off the bottom of it. And when that vitamin C binding protein, which is in your body right now and trucking around doing stuff in all your cells, it actually can bind in such a way that it triggers a macrophage activating factor against these sugar-based proteins, the GC part. Now, the macrophage is your normal body's defense mechanism. Okay, it's your shields, but it's also your hunter-killer. So, the vitamin C provides a shield, so to speak, by hardening the intercellular cement, so that cancers can't bind without really working. Right, so they got to really work their ass. Now, vitamin C, unlike C60, when vitamin C repels a cancer cell, that chunk of vitamin C is used up, it's oxidized, it's gone. Some components of it go on to work in other parts of your body, but it's no longer recognizable as vitamin C. Now, GcMAF is that same way. A macrophage, the hunter-killer part of your system, as soon as it does its work, it's shot, it's gone, it's used up, and so you need another one. And so you have these macrophage activating factors that tell your body produce a bunch more of these hunter-killer cells to go on out and do work. And so you have a bunch of MAFs, okay? There are different kinds of macrophages. That's why they preface them as to what they go out and basically kill. Some of them kill bacteria, some of them go after viruses, et cetera, et cetera. GcMAF is a broad spectrum. You can think of it as a broad spectrum macrophage activating factor. It brings out all different kinds of hunter-killer cells. So GcMAF is good for other stuff than more than just cancer. It's doing very well with people for herpes, all different kinds of herpes virus. It's doing very well for people with other kinds of viruses. It's really a quality product. You have it in your body now. So thus the immunotherapy, and it the more you have of it to a certain extent, the better, especially in older humans, because you have a natural tendency to have these systems degrade as your body has a lot of oxidative stress. Thus the C60 pulls the oxidative stress out of your body, especially over time, and so it's a long-acting keep it going kind of a thing. You'll notice that there's a lot of that difference, right? The allopaths, they have their chemicals. You take the chemical and you get, supposedly, whatever it is gets fixed right then and there, that sort of a deal. The alternative thing is, it's going to take a while. It's going to take a long time. And so you build it up until it's no longer a problem, until the problem falls off. And you don't worry about the problem as you go along. Now, so to that end, by the way, not worrying about the problem. I'm not doing cancer tests or hormone tests every month now. I'm going to start doing them every 3 months, maybe every 4 months. Feeling so much better, and I don't want to screw with that particular aspect of it. Nor do I want to become obsessed with numbers that are not necessarily meaningful relative to my overall health. And see, I have a good, even though the cancer tumor marker is elevated ever so slightly, I'm of the opinion that the hormone level of testosterone being raised that high is a really good indicator a pretty solid indicator that that there is not a cortisol-inducing cancer-based process ongoing in me the way I had for 15 or 20 years before this cancer got serious and tried to kill me. So therefore, I'm using the hormone levels rising steady and safely with no adrenal pump, no central nervous system kick in, and no testosterone, not addiction. That's not really a word. The replacement therapy is just that. When you start injecting yourself with testosterone, your body decides, I don't have to make that stuff anymore. And so if you stopped injecting yourself, the body would have to start kicking in, and I don't know that it would. So that was one of my fears about replacement therapy, was that I wanted something that was sustainable regardless of what may happen to the environment around me. And that I didn't particularly like the idea of injecting myself with needles anyway. So, I don't mind it or anything. It's just that it's not one of my favorite things. There's always that small risk of inducing bacterial infections, that kind of thing. So in any event, though, I've added GcMAF. Now, you can get it in a lot of different forms. And now also let's be clear about this. GcMAF has gotten a lot of people killed, I think. I think a lot of these natural doctor guys who are promoting GcMAF for more than just cancer, but from everything from autism to, like I say, herpes, that kind of deal, right? Viruses, bacteria. Because see, the MAF, the macrophage activating factor, the macrophage is going to go out and do its thing as a hunter-killer cell. It's going to kill that shit that's not good for your body, and it's not particular about it. If it can kill a cancer cell, it will, but if it runs along and hits a nasty virus along the way, it'll take care of that. So, it's a broad spectrum kind of thing. It's not a cure-all. It's not going to cure toe fungus, or, it's not going to put hair on my head, that kind of a deal, right? But the GcMAF is incredible stuff. I know this even though my numbers are up because I've been taking it now for a little over 30 days. I'm getting it from an outfit called GcMAFplus.com. So that's GcMAFplus.com. They're producing it in some interesting forms. Now, I had been taking it for a few days before the blood test in a form of this yogurt, where you get a higher level. You've got the bacteria making these macrophage activating factors for you, and you ingest it that way. Some portion of them get through your digestive system, and it aids you in attacking cancer. But admittedly, out of every liter of yogurt you eat, you're only getting 30 micrograms, I think, of GcMAF, a relatively small amount. And it is very valuable stuff in your body, so I wanted to obtain larger dose delivery of it in a more sustained fashion that hopefully didn't involve the digestive system, because I didn't want the stuff destroyed by having to eat it. Don't get me wrong, though. I mean, the yogurt is really quality stuff. You can tell this because it changes your mental outlook. You have a lot of different positive responses to it, and so on. But I ran across the GcMAFplus.com guys, and they offered some products, and so I purchased them. Now, I have to, for full disclosure, I've got to tell you that the CEO there, Anastasia for us US guys, has comped me some of the products from her company. That is to say, she's provided me with some free sample things here. And I took them because I liked the product, and I was intent on talking about it anyway. Because she has produced 3 different versions here, each with a interesting profile. So she's got 2 of them that are creams. I like this because they're absorbed through the skin, so there's no digestive issues there at all. I was a little uncertain about what to do with them initially, so I'm smearing them on my gut because I had colon cancer. And she tells me that, well, it depends too on the kind of cancer, especially if you have like a skin cancer or a skin irritation or whatever, and I'll get to that in a minute. You can put it right on it, right? And if you had some other form of cancer, you can put it on lymph nodes, in the lymph node areas, and it gets right into the lymph system, which is really good. And so I thought, okay, so these creams are great. One of them is at I think 1,800 nanograms of GcMAF. and the other is at 8,000 nanograms of GcMAF. Now that's really good, okay, because you're talking little tiny amounts in the yogurt. Here you're talking much bigger whomps, so to speak. Now again, bear in mind this is immunotherapy. It's going to take a while. It's your immune system getting up to the point where it's being back supported by your introduction of these factors. It's getting kicked in. It's going to attack the whatever you're trying to cure, and it's going to erode that nastiness, and you're going to keep backfilling the immune system as it erodes the nastiness right out of you and gets rid of it. But you have to maintain this all through the process. So bear in mind that, this stuff is expensive. Now, it's nowhere near as expensive as the allopathic chemicals that don't do anything, right? That don't offer these potentials. This is immunotherapy. They're going to start, the big pharma is going to start really pimping the whole idea of immunotherapy. But let me continue with the GcMAF Plus company. They also offer, Anastasia also offers a spray, a sublingual spray that gets you 50,000 nanograms of the GcMAF. And so very powerful, very potent, very expensive though, right? So they're in Australian dollars, there's conversion and all of that. I don't know if they take cryptos. There's still going to be prohibitions. Now, none of these things involve injections. They're also not products for they're not a supplement in the form of a digestion thing. So there's real hope that they won't be interdicted at borders getting to cancer patients. She tells me that she has a very good production facility and that they're geared up to meet demand. So it's, in my opinion, it's safe to order the products. I've been using the spray now for 3+ weeks and using the cream for maybe, because I had the creams, I was more intent on trying them. I set the spray aside for a while. I bought one of each. I bought one of the two kinds of creams, and then I bought one of the spray things, and later on Anastasia gave me some of each of these. But I would have talked about it regardless. It's just the way I am. I think it's pretty cool stuff, and I will continue to buy it. I don't expect to get free material from her just other than this once. It was just a one-time deal. And basically what she's doing is she's supporting me as I go through the analysis so that every 3 or 4 months I'll start doing I'll have my blood work every 3 or 4 months, and we'll see if the GcMAF actually is able to drive down the tumor marker indicators as well as the nagalase, which is, I haven't had that test. It's a pain in the ass to do from out here in the wilderness to arrange. But so I will do that, though, as part of my commitment to GcMAF Plus and Anastasia and her products. I'm not being paid by it. So if you expect that I'm doing this because they're giving me free stuff, then you have to acknowledge I'm a pretty cheap date. So I'm not, though, guys. The reason I say I'm not is even though my numbers are not down yet, and that's something else. If you look at the testimonial history of GcMAF, not just from GcMAFplus.com, but also from the other producers of GcMAF, it takes a while. So I was expecting eating the yogurt, I might have to eat that for several years before I found a noticeable effect. But part of the deal is that even though it's not killing the cancer off right then and there, the cancers aren't growing. You're not, so it instantly forms upon ingestion, it instantly starts working as an anti-cancer agent. And it continues to do so, and antiviral, et cetera, as long as you're taking it. And it also aids in building up your own body so that in between taking it, you'll have more of the stuff natively and so on. But you can see that it would take a while to defeat any kind of a body condition. So don't expect any instant cure out of this stuff at all. However, it's not out of bounds to expect very positive effects within a short period of time. By a short period of time, I mean 12, 15 weeks. Okay. You may see something within 3 or 4 weeks, depending on how depleted you are. So that's something else about Chinese medicine in general, and GcMAF being, or orthomolecular medicine in general. The more depleted you are, the more you're going to see an instant pop. All right, so the more depleted you are in vitamin C, even down to the point of scurvy, the more beneficial it's going to be in those early stages and really come on strong for you, and you'll get this big benefit out of it. In fact, scurvy is cured in 6 days, but to get the maximum benefit out of vitamin C, even though the scurvy went away, you might have to take that for an additional 3 or 4 months before you felt another big plateau is reached. So it's plateau, in general, incremental progress. And that's what I'm looking for out of the immunotherapy and the GcMAF, because the GcMAF, in my opinion, is orthomolecular medicine, right? It's doing stuff with those things that are already in your body. And thus it fits within the category of what I consider to be the traditional Chinese medicine or Ayurveda overall philosophy. And in any event, so like I was saying, I was prepared to go for years with the yogurt before really seeking, a validation that it was effective. However, with the GcMAF and the cream and the spray, I've gotten a little bit more immediate results. And so that's not related to the cancer per se, because I don't have any number that I can say, okay, this cancer number is now down, that sort of thing. Instead, I had a strange skin infection that had set into me when I was in the hospital. And it got into the tough skin on my knee. My knees the skin on there is reasonably tough anyway, but the skin had been really damaged by all of the years of trying to get rid of the cancer, not knowing it was cancer, changing my diet all the time, not knowing what was the cause of all of that. And so it had its impact on my skin all over my body. And also the things I do. Okay, so I'd done like 30 years of Aikido. That's a lot of kneeling. That's a lot of your knees on the ground. I do Zen meditation. When I sit naturally to do small tasks and stuff, if it doesn't require a table, I usually will sit seiza, sit Zen style, and just because it's comfortable now after all these years. Anyway, so I'd had this skin, it was pretty tough stuff. It wasn't like elephant hide, but it was like buffalo hide. Okay, I have pretty tough knees. Anyway, I got a skin infection in the hospital because the hospitals are terrible places. They're concentrated infection pools. While I was there for the surgery. I had other kinds of issues with other infections and so on, but being depleted, but all those cured over the first couple of weeks. But the skin infection was persistent and very annoying. And it was just in the knee there. And so I thought, what the hell? I had the cream. And so a couple of weeks back, maybe 3 weeks back, I started putting a little tiny bit from the end of my finger on the skin infection on my knee after smearing the stuff on my gut, thinking that was where I was going to put it. Now I know, lymph nodes, that kind of thing, right? Better absorption spots. In any event, though, the allopaths, the doctors at the hospital, had all kinds of chemicals they were trying to give me for the skin infection on my knee, none of which did anything other than make me more ill in some way. The cream approach that they had sort of knocked it down. They had steroids, but it only lasted for maybe a day or so, this corticosteroid stuff, and then it would flare back up. And so, I was just rather kind of irritated that it was there, that it was persistent month after month after month. And I figured it was a side effect of my skin being so degraded, and that's when it went, light bulb pops off. Well, I need skin support for the immune system in the skin, and thus the GcMAF. And so I started putting the cream on there. And indeed, that stuff does work. So let me see. So it was July, I had the surgery, and the skin infection was noticeable I was there 4 days, and I was out of the hospital maybe 1 day, and I knew I had the skin infection in my knee. It was quite visible. I mean, if I'd paid attention, I probably could have seen it there in the hospital. In any event, though, so 6-7 months before I started, 7 months here, 5, 6, yeah. So in the 7th month out of the hospital, no, eighth month out of the hospital was when I started putting the GcMAF on the skin infection, and not expecting anything, but again, keeping it up as a constant, every time I messed with it, which was a couple of times a day, I would make sure I put a little on there. And it's worked. Taking it away, it's gone. And so it picked up that immune system and boosted it up and killed whatever the hell that thing was that it infected my skin. And it's all gone. Now, again, no noticeable effect from the various different kinds of creams or pills and stuff that the doctors had tried to give me to get rid of it. They were very much worried that there was going to be some kind of, epidermal body level infection, systemic kind of a put you at risk sort of shit. And so I said, well, no, I'll go this route rather than take the pills, because I did it once and it's like, ugh, no, I can't deal with this shit. Anyway, and so I put it off, tried various different kinds of things. I'd had some good response from the black seed oil and the C60. The problem with it was that it didn't have enough of a response to make it worth the trouble to do. Whatever the infection was, in some way was resistant to the chemical within the black seed oil. I'd had in the past, many years ago, I'd had other skin infections working around boats and that kind of thing. Put black seed oil on it. This is long before C60 hit the scene. But put black seed oil on it and, cure it within hours, sometimes minutes, depending on, the nature of the bacteria or whatever it was. So I'd always had black seed oil around in any event. But now with the C60 in it, it's that much more powerful. But it didn't do anything for this particular infection. I was disappointed, and that's why I tried the GcMAF, and very, very much impressed. Got to get on with things here, so I need to cut this one short. But the GcMAF is now going to be in my permanent personal pharmacopoeia here at the house. I'll always have some of the stuff around. I expect to be taking it for years because I want to make sure that the propensity towards creating cancer cells, given my environment and everything, is continually met by my immune system being ready to deal with the bastards. But like I was saying, don't let people in the alternative medicine community that get a wild hair up their butt about the word immunotherapy and the fact that the big pharmas could also be using it. Don't let them turn you off to the fact that immunotherapy is basically traditional Chinese medicine or orthomolecular medicine, using those elements within your body to defeat those things that are attacking your body. And at some point I will discuss the actual traditional Chinese medicine formulas I'm using to boost testosterone. But I don't want to do it in a general way because it can be quite dangerous. That you really have to know your body, and I need to know some of the potential side effects, so I need to be on it for some period of time before I can confidently say there are or are no side effects to this stuff, right? Now, the type of the traditional Chinese medicine that I'm using is very much akin to the GcMAF in terms of how it works. Okay, it's not directly stimulating the production of testosterone. It's providing assistance to the body's native production of that, and it's also working with the hormone regulators in the pancreas and these other different systems in the endocrine system in a very harmonious way. So I don't expect that there will be side effects, but if there are, they might be quite nasty. And then there's also the other aspect of it. That is that there's many chemicals out there that will do the same thing relative to testosterone, human growth analogs, those kind of things. But all of those boost cancer in a serious way. I mean, they make cell replication just go absolutely crazy batshit. So anyway, I'm paranoid. I don't want to cause people harm. And it's not like cancer stuff where if there was a shot that, GcMAF might have a side effect that I wouldn't know about for some time, I would still talk about it now because it offers the potential, to me, proven now, of benefit. And I can deal with side effects that might arise from it. I don't expect any whatsoever from GcMAF because of the nature of what it is in your body. It'd be like, there just wouldn't be any kind of an issue with it. So if you want to contact Anastasia's company, it's GcMAF Plus, Plus, attached to GcMAF.com. And you can order with confidence in the sense that, I find these products to be effective and non-harmful. And they're not oral, except for the spray, which is under your tongue. They're not in any way an oral supplement. They don't have long-term effects. And in fact, the nature of them is like almost an instant half-life, in the sense that if you boosted up your macrophages and you had lots of things inside your body, those macrophages would be used up right away. So it doesn't have a potential for toxic effect buildup like, even like a coffee enemas, all right? Coffee enema is not a good thing in my opinion, because you can actually build up toxins in your colon from the coffee itself, okay, that are not flushed by other approaches, because you've stripped out with the acids and stuff those part of the bacteria that would normally deal with those kind of toxins should they have made it all the way down there. So see, you got to be careful about some of these things. A lot of these things have long-term toxic buildups. It's actually safer to drink the coffee and have it go through the complete digestive process than to short-circuit it and use it the other way. Because of the long-term buildup. Now, you can still get toxins out of coffee drinking this stuff, don't get me wrong. But, all of life is basically toxic. And so what we have to do is to choose the level of toxin that we're going to deal with. So I'm also doing the exercise. I've got my whole body vibration machine over here. I've got the heavy bags. I've got the punching bags. I'm doing a lot of exercise because exercise is a big component of long-term cancer survival. It also has a tendency to boost your testosterone a little bit. I don't see that as being significant relative to the effects of the traditional Chinese medicine compounds. So very much taken with that approach. No, I'm not going to teach classes in that kind of stuff. That's just not my role. There are a lot of people that are very good teachers, and you really need to concentrate with somebody that's got a more instructive kind of a mind. I don't. It's kind of like I want to tell you a particular thing and go on about my business. I got a new canoe coming, right? So I'm all whipped up about that. I'm going to go out and paddle and start up a new channel here and do cliff paddles, the Washington coast, all the river kind of things. Go out in the ocean and paddle around and, talk to the pelicans and the eagles and that sort of thing. Anyway, though, so that's basically it for Cancer Ward episode 4. I'll have another one of these in a few months when I've got some more blood work and can provide more information relative to this. GcMAFplus.com. The CEO's name is Anastasia. And quality products, shipped very quickly, on time. It's got to go through customs. That can be a little tricky, so just be advised, right? Depending on where you're at, there may, geographically, there may be prohibitions from the statehood around you as to what you can do as a cancer patient, and so you just have to deal with this shit and say, get it one way or another. I'm certain that you could write to them if that was the case and maybe make some other kinds of arrangements. And that's basically it, guys. I'm doing really well, building up some of the muscle mass again, really pleased with my thighs, putting on it's very difficult as an older man, especially with the wasting part of the muscles, to add muscle mass back. So the testosterone really does help that way. And I'm pleased with the effect on it all. And I can get some work done, get some stuff done. So anyway, I'm going to go get coffee and do just that, get to work. And I'll upload this in a few minutes. Still on YouTube, still working alternatives. Got to move some stuff over to Vimeo and also put some stuff on my site as I get more into I'm upgrading my skills in programming, and I want to do a bunch of different programming things and present them out there as well. So I'll be changing things on my site over the next few months. Not instantly, be 2 or 3 months down the road before I'm ready to do some proof of concept and put it out there. Anyway, see you guys.